Another really cool feature in Photoshop is the ability to create GIF animations or animations within Photoshop. So I've gone ahead and created a document that's 640 by 480 as far as pixel resolution, because this would be something we would create for a web. The resolution on this is 300 dpi, although it really doesn't matter because its output would be for web. But we're going to go to Window and Animation, and this is going to pull up our animation toolbar on the bottom. And I'm going to show you a little bit how that works. And the first thing we want to do is just create some different layers to play around with. And I'm going to pull out our layers panel here so I can right mouse click and rasterize that layer. And then I'm going to change the color and create another shape. And I'm just going to be doing something really simple here and nothing too complex. And I'll create one more, a different color. I'm just using squares. Okay, but now we have everything that we want to have for animation, just our different shapes. What I'm going to do is start creating new frames. So I can go down to the bottom and I can select Duplicate Selected Frame. And I'm just going to do that a couple of times to create a 5-frame animation. And now I can go through and select each one of these frames and start editing layers, turning things on and off, moving objects, and it'll all show up in the animation. And on the bottom here, we have the ability, right now it says 0 seconds, but we can select either no delay, or we can have 0.1 second, 0.2, 0.5, 1, 2, 5, 10, or other, which means we can define our own, which means we can set the delay between. I'm going to set this to 0.5 for all of these frames right now and just start doing a little bit of editing. So I'm going to select our first frame, and for the first frame what I'm going to do is just, actually I'm going to bring in this animation toolbar just a little bit, and what I'm going to do for the first frame is just remove all of these layers, and the next frame I'm going to just start bringing them in and turning them on. Okay, and now we have a little animation, and I'm just going to click play. And we can see that it's going through the animation. Now typically you want to do this with something smaller, like for a banner animation online, and you can create your GIFs and things like that. If you need to save this, you can just file, you can do save for web, and now save for web is great because you can see the optimized, and right now it's doing as a JPEG, but we're going to select a GIF, and then we have all the different GIF options. Although what I really suggest doing is going into Image Ready and switching over the Image Ready, and that way you can optimize your images a little bit better. Each individual frame you can optimize and then save that out as a GIF within Image Ready. But we can create little banner animations. We could have text popping up, going away, and it's very simple animation. You could of course go very in depth with it and create real animation with it. 30 frames per second, 24 frames per second, and go very in depth while you're drawing and do some neat stuff that way as well. Setting your delay to 0.1 second if you wanted to. So I can just change those. And then come down here and click play. And you see it goes very quickly. And you can barely even see it even coming up. But that's one of the nice things about Photoshop, is you're just able to create these animations, and actually in previous versions this animation was not available directly in Photoshop. You actually had to go into Image Ready to do it. But now we can actually edit these directly within Photoshop. And if we want to delete any of these frames, all we got to do is just select our frame, and we can hit the trash can and click yes, or we can even drag it onto that trash can and just delete it without it asking us. Another really cool thing we can do is the blending between frames within an animation. Right now we have these two frames, and let's say I want to sort of create something in between that has them sort of fading together. Well, what I can do then is create a tween. If we come down here, we see this kind of little circle sort of fading off. Let's select that, and it's going to ask us what we want to use position, opacity, effects, and things like that to make our frames sort of blend together, and we're going to tween with the previous frame, although we could do it with the first frame as well. And we can select how many frames we want to do. I'm going to select 8 and click OK. And now we see we have this blend in between the frames where we have the opacity changing, and it is slowly brightening up. So that's pretty neat. We can go ahead and hit play, and you can see it fading in. So we can do some nice GIF animations that way. It's a really powerful tool. If you just go ahead and play around with it, you can make some really neat animations for web projects or whatever it is you need them for.